Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It is Wednesday. It is 8 p.m. My favorite time of the week to talk college football. My name is Paul Spencer, and that is the original right there, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Bill Furman. Bill, how we feeling?
Oh, feeling great, man. What another weekend of college football. Did not disappoint. And you know what, Paul? Just because I kind of I didn't give you the business last week, but I'll tell you what, you get your front and center this week. Your Notre Dame Fighting Irish stepped up, took on USC at home, season on the line, and played a fine ball game. You got the floor, my man.
Hey, Bill, finally, I'm relevant. As a Notre Dame fan, we talk about being, name-wise, name recognition. But, Bill, this week, thank you for giving me the floor. I will take it from you. I definitely will. I'll put myself up on the pedestal this week. Bill, they made Caleb Williams have his worst game in his college career. 3 picks. Bill, this game, we talked about winning it from the trenches. They shut down USC. We knew USC would give up points, Bill. But what was Notre Dame about this week? They showed something, rebounding the horrific loss last week. I tell you, I know they still can't get into BCS, Bill, but to me, I marked this on the calendar. This game basically made my season in a nutshell, Bill. It really did.
And it should. It should. They let those other losses get away from them. But certainly the Ohio State game.
Right.
The Louisville game, they just got spanked, But to bounce back, and now they got to grow on it. They got to build on this thing and see if they're for real. They can't turn right around and have another letdown here in the next couple of weeks either.
Exactly.
So they've got to grow on that. The quarterback play that we were looking for, they finally got from Hartman.
Yeah.
He played really well also. And really, there wasn't a lot of doubt about this game as it was playing out.
Yeah, I mean, something, Bill. The first time they scored on a special teams touchdown here, Notre Dame finally got one to the house there, it was only a 49-yard, kickoff return, but a punt return. But they finally showed 3 phases of the game. Bill Hartman didn't have to do much. 13 for 20, 126, 2 TDs, rebounded from that 3-pick game. No picks this week, 2 TDs. Estime finally got back on the wagon. 22 carries, 95 yards, 2 TDs. But Bill, Caleb Williams. 22 for 37, 194, 1 TD, 3 picks, Bill. 3 picks.
Yeah, and he looked confused.
He did.
So credit to Al Golden and his defensive staff, and obviously the players that executed it. But Caleb looked like he was a deer in the headlights there for a while. He didn't have a shot.
Yeah, they were showing one thing on the sideline, Bill, where he came off, he threw his helmet, and he blamed the offensive lineman. I'm like, okay, I understand that they're getting pressure on you, but you do have legs. We've seen this the last 2, Oklahoma, USC last year. You have legs, but you're not reading the progression right. You're throwing, in like a deer in headlights. You're just throwing the ball anywhere out here. And credit to Al Golden and Marcus Freeman's defense, Bill. They stepped up. They must have watched filmed on the Arizona game last week, the Colorado game versus USC. They must have seen something because whatever Al Golden had in that game, the defensive film room, it definitely worked this week, Bill.
Yeah, and you mentioned Caleb Williams. Bad show for him. Bad show on the sideline for him.
Exactly.
He looked like a spoiled Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, I mean,
he was going his way, and he was not able to respond very well. Not like you'd want your leader.
Exactly. And Bill, I mean, is he out of the contention now? I mean, one bad game, he's definitely
out. I think he probably is.
I agree too. Because it's great that you mentioned that. Caleb Williams out. On the field, great athlete. We know what he is. We know he's about one bad blemish on the record here. But that sideline issue, Bill, I was watching which game we'll talk about next, that Washington game, Bill. Penix threw a pick late. He said nothing. He went up to every helmet and owned it up, Bill. He just went up to, it's me. It's all me. I'm sorry. It was my fault. Shouldn't have made that read. Turned around and lit it up right up next drive, Bill. That goes to show you that Caleb Williams is a great player, but you need more tools. Sideline means a lot to players too, the respect value as well.
Yeah, how you respond in adversity, right?
Exactly.
Hey, speaking of Washington and Micheal Penix and the Heisman all in one time, what a game between Washington and Oregon. We said we thought it was going to be that kind of game.
Wow.
We weren't disappointed.
Yep. We got one comment, Bill. He agrees with us. Kid Canvas says there's not going to be a Heisman repeat this year. Definitely, but it might stay in the Pac-12, Bill, as we're speaking right now.
Yeah, I mean, Micheal Penix finally got on a big stage, on a big TV stage.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. Hmm.
Showed well. Hey,
Yeah.
so Bo Nix, for that matter.
Bill, I'm looking at stats here. I mean, you look at this game here. Bo Nix, showed something 33 for 44, 337, two TDs, no picks. Penix, 22 for 37, 302, four TDs, but one pick. I mean, wow. Talk about a quarterback battle here, Bill.
Yeah, it was. And, I guess if there's any drawback to that game, uh, it would be that the defenses did not appear to be very good, whether it was because the offenses were that good.
Right, right.
When they get into a little different situation, can these teams play defense or not?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure we know that. A couple coaching questions, whether take points, not take points, ended up playing out big at the end of the game as well. But a huge win for Washington.
Yeah, we talked about it, Bill. What has Washington been? How have they played? The cupcake, story here. Who have they played? Well, you play a Washington team. I know it goes down to the wire. You win 36-33 here, but a win is a win, and you beat a top 10 team. Goes a long way, Bill. Goes a long way.
And I guess we'll jump. We'll get to our top 10 probably, right? We'll have that up there at some point, and we'll see what those jumps do to you in the rankings. It did exactly what we thought it was going to do.
And you know what, Bill? Not to pat ourselves on the back, but I think we correctly called that Penn State ranking, didn't we? Where somebody would definitely jump them playing a Massachusetts team, right?
Sure, absolutely. And Penn State won by 50, 60 points, whatever.
63-0. 63-0, Bill.
Yeah, but it was kind of a meaningless win. It was an exercise, and you win a game against the top 10 team, you're going to jump, and Penn State drop it down, and is probably exactly what should have happened. And
exactly. Yep.
They'll have their opportunity this week if they
Definitely
can win this game against Ohio State. Ohio State's going to fall some, and Penn State's going to jump. That's just the way it works.
Agreed. Bill, speaking of Penn State here, I mean, 63-0, not much to talk about. But the one stat, Bill, I want to ask you two things as, the Penn State guy here. What do you take away from this game? Just a warm-up game, or would you rather have played a little bit more elite team prior to going to those shoe this week?
Well, I don't know that I don't want to play UMass.
Right.
I don't want to play them at all.
Right.
I don't also want to play Notre Dame the week before I play Ohio State either.
True.
But there's no reason that you couldn't play Syracuse or play Pitt Pitt's a rivalry. Maybe that's not a good example, but Maryland, somebody else. It's a decent opponent, but I just assume UMass not even be on the schedule.
Yeah, Bill, the one thing that blew my mind, I didn't watch the game at all because that was not one on my list to watch this week. Not, disregards to Penn State, but this wasn't even a game, Bill. Of course, we knew that from the start of this. The one thing that stands out to me, Bill, Penn State's defense, 109 total yards for the game. Bill, 109 total yards in a game.
Yeah, well, again, it's the level of competition you're playing. And the defense is really good. I think they're really, really good. And
I agree.
When we get our guest on here shortly, Goon can certainly attest to the defense. But running up all those yards, a couple punt return for touchdowns, same guy had two. But I'm not hanging anything on this game except nobody got hurt.
I agree. You came out healthy. That's the best thing possible going into this week here, which we'll talk about. But Bill, what other game caught your eye this week?
Well, the Colorado game that they ended up losing that. They were up 29-0.
Yeah, it was 36-7 in the second half, Bill. 36-7 in the second half here.
Yeah. They ended up losing that game. That was quite a surprise. It looked like a lot of TVs got turned off at halftime at 29-0. And
you know what? I will attest to that, Bill. I really did. I think I went over to a USC event, and I'm like, okay, this game is not a good thing to watch here. And my friend texted me. He was like, Paul, I can't believe he's a Colorado fan, a Coach Prime guy. He texted me. He's like, Paul, are you watching this game? I'm like, no, I'm watching USC. The game's over. He's like, you might want to turn the TV on to the channel back. Bill, I turned it on. It was only a 14-point game. I'm like, wait a minute. How is this possible?
Yeah. Well, I think the whole Deion Sanders thing is a learning experience for Deion Sanders too.
Very true.
And I'm sure a lot of lessons were learned by him and his staff and his players this week. It's a learning experience. Mm-hmm. They took their foot off the gas and and they paid for it.
We know it's a 60-minute game. I've learned that very harsh this year, Bill, of course. But, last thing I want to say about that game, Bill, is did you see Coach Prime taking a lot of slack for playing Travis Hunter so many plays, almost 85% of the snap count, coming off a lacerated lung last week, Bill? Is this something being a coach in a elite program as Colorado's turning it around to be, not having that proven identity to be a coach and no time management, play snap count, basically, Bill?
Well, Hunter's in rare air, doing what he's doing. This
true.
What is enough? What is too much? Mm-hmm. I don't know, but to play a kid 85 plays, man, that's rough. And it doesn't matter what kind of athlete you are. When you're playing.
I don't know if you've seen that hit he took in the end zone. I thought he lacerated that lung again after that one. And then he came back into play again. Bill, that was a curtain call right there to say, okay, you know what? I don't care what the score is. Because 2 weeks ago, Bill, he said he's all about the players, correct? He doesn't care about anything else. About the players, well, that was a 180 flip showing you having him on the field after that play, and then what you said 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I think medically, some of that comes out of the coach's hands.
True.
If the kid is cleared to play, he can play. 85 plays, even if you're a wide receiver and you're a DB, not even, you're not in a train wreck every play like in the trench, but you're running every play for 85 plays. And then you end up getting beat for the touchdown that cost you the game on a just an unbelievable catch. But that's the guy they were working on in, late in the game. The kid was tired.
I agree. I mean, it goes back to Little League days where, Bill, you don't have enough kids. You have to play both sides of the ball here. But, damn, they have 60, 70 people on the squad here. You give your guy a rest. I understand he's All-American on both sides of the ball, but you got to give the kids some rest, correct?
Yeah, I think so, too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing them a lot, but 85 plays is probably more than a lot.
I agree. Well, Bill, I know we'll get into some of the other games here, but we got something special, coming up here in about 30 seconds here. Bill, it is Ohio State, Penn State week, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you know what, Bill? I'm not a fan of either one of you. I'm going to be on the opposite side of the fence here. I'm going to go Ohio State because I need Ohio State to win for my strength of schedule for Notre Dame. Okay, that's the only reason. But, Bill, how about we go, in the trenches? How about we go in the trenches tonight and we bring a All-American Keith the Goon Collin aboard? How do you feel about that, Bill?
That's my man.
Let's bring him on.
There he is. Hey, it's Red October too, Goon.
Yes, it is. Right here, baby. Right here. So you got to get past the Santa Claus beard here. So it's my I run my playoff beard with Penn State football, so I haven't shaved in 7 weeks.
You know what, Keith? I feel you because I'm a Cowboy fan, so I don't want you to leave the show.
Oh, my God. Cowboys and Notre Dame?
Yes, I'm sorry. Please don't leave the show. I'm sorry. Bill, I apologize now.
What are you getting me involved with here, Billy? What are you getting me involved with here, bud?
Atlanta Braves, too, Goon.
Oh, my God.
I know. We'll never have Keith on here again. I know that for sure now.
If you throw the Lakers in there, I'm out.
No, I'm a Sixers fan.
Oh, God. That one out of 4, no big deal.
There you go. But I'm in the same boat as you. I told my football team here, they're all Eagles fans, Steeler fans, and I said, okay, I will not shave until Dallas wins 3 games in a row. And I was like, "Does a bye count?" They're like, "No." So I still have 2 more weeks to go with you, Keith.
Okay.
Hey, Goon, I'm going to throw one more thing at you. And Paul doesn't know this. Paul is from the Prep.
Yes,
and
LaSalle.
Goon is from LaSalle.
That was one of my questions here, Keith. How do you feel about Prep being, 8th in the nation on some forecast and 10 on some forecast? And
hey, that's the best money could buy, I guess, right?
Yes.
Come on now.
Very true. Very true. I'll take that one.
Well, I will put my high school up against anybody when it comes to good men created. How's that?
Hey, you know what? One of the best came out of here. We got him on the show tonight, so I can attest.
We kid around, and we kid around. I hate the Prep. Prep hates LaSalle. Yada yada yada. Then, 10 years later, we're all in the business world together. It's like, dude, we're all the exact same. So it's all good.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Well, Keith, thanks for joining us here. What better way to have you on the show here? Ohio State, Penn State. This is a huge, game of the week, and I don't understand why it's not prime time. I don't understand that one, number one.
Well, you're getting closer and closer to the ESPNs and the Foxes of the world calling the shots. So, I mean, that's a whole nother show, but, they're going to start calling the shots of when guys are going to play and this and that. So they're doing it now, but when the NCAA gets broken up and the revenue sharing starts with players and we're the minor leagues of the NFL, which is coming real soon, you're going to see a lot more of it. I mean, we're dictated by television, always have been, but they've never actually said it, but now they just say it. So, I mean, hell, watch television anymore. Everything is actually it's gambling driven. Every sport. I mean, every piece of sport you watch, it's just talks about gambling and all the time. So, is what it is. Changing times. We'll be all right.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
Hey, Goon, Penn State getting ready to go against the Buckeyes out there in Columbus. Not an easy place to play by any means.
Nope.
What's your thought about this Penn State offensive line? It's something that has concerned me all year that they have not dominated when it was supposed to be that this was going to be a strength of the team. I haven't quite seen that. That concerns me going into Saturday.
Yeah, we haven't seen the real dominance, but I mean, I think that, I not tooting the own horn, but Billy, I go back to the '94 team when you had a real good pass offense and a real good run offense, a run offense, run and a run pass option. It was always, we were always said, you want to get run over by Keyshawn Carter for 200 yards, or pass on by Carey for 300. So I think Ohio State's going to come out in just a base 7 offense, base 7 defensive front. We'll see what we can do because they're a proud program. They're not going to say you're going to beat us. We're not going to drop an 8-man down. So they feel that they can get pressure with 4. So as most games, Billy, you know well, it comes down to the offensive line play on both sides. I mean, can they contain our defense and can we contain their can they contain our offense and can we contain theirs? So huge game for the offensive line, big time.
Keith, is there anybody that scares you? I mean, I understand, Marvis Harrison Jr., Ugba, top 2 of the top 5 wide receivers in the nation this year. How does that concern you going against them? I mean, I understand Kyle McCord. I know when he went to school, prep, of course, and Marvin Harrison too. But that's disregard that one. But I had to throw that in there, Keith. But
Marvin did have 1 year at LaSalle and just got a better deal with the prep. Come on, let's not kid ourselves.
Well, he wanted to win something there, Phil Keith.
Okay, all right, yeah, sure. Okay.
But how do you game plan for these 2 animals on the wide receivers? And you just have to get to Kyle McCord. What do you guys have to? What is your game plan, Keith?
Well, I mean, the strength of our team right now and defensively is the defensive backfield and the defensive line. So if we can pressure McCord up front, I have faith in our defensive backfield. It's probably as good as it's been in a long time. I mean, we've almost switched teams this year because we had the dominant defensive backfield and sort of the dominant defensive line, where that has always been the MO of Ohio State. So it will be interesting to see where it's at. I mean, my honest opinion is that I have not felt this comfortable going out to Ohio State since 2008 when we went out there with a real strong defense. Terrell Pryor was young and big win out there. And that was one of the 2 times we've won out there in the last 15 years. So it also marks the last time I was actually in Columbus as a fan. I swore it off because I could not believe how bad the fans were. I mean, we catch a lot of crap as Philadelphia fans, but my God in the heavens above, I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Wow.
You talk to people and they feel like their women were being threatened by men. And it's like, dude, what is going on out there? So
I was actually at that game myself, Goon. I was in the press box that night.
There you go. I got something for you, Billy boy. You ready?
Go ahead.
Starting quarterback 2008, Penn State Nittany Lions from Ohio, Darrell Clark. Starting quarterback from the Ohio State team was Terrell Pryor from Pennsylvania.
That's right.
Penn State wins at the shoe. And what else happened in 2008?
Penn State won the Big Ten.
And the Phillies won the World Series, baby.
There you go. I like the way you're thinking, Goon.
History repeats itself. No more pressure, James. No more pressure. The Phillies are riding on this game, buddy.
Keith, I have a question for you. Since you mentioned Terrell Pryor, I know you're up near Beaver up there. Did you ever get a chance to watch him in high school, going to the Jeanette High School?
Nah, I never really. That's the western part. I never really did the whole high school thing up here. But okay. I know guys who played against him, and we always thought it was funny because he said he ain't coming to Penn State because it's too country. I don't know if you've ever been to his hometown, but it ain't exactly like
Jeanette. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it's not exactly like downtown city Philadelphia here. I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought that was a funny one.
Yeah, because I know he beat Prep that year. The one year that he won the PIAA championship here in PA, he beat Prep that year from Jeanette High School, and everybody was saying like, you don't want to go to Penn State, you don't want to go to this nice city here, but you live in the slum areas of Jeanette here. Totally different for you,
Hey, he wanted his name on his jersey, so oh well, you could have him.
He did.
Buckeyes could have him.
Hey, Goon, the Big Ten schedule has come out for the future somewhat. What's your thought on all these West Coast teams becoming the Big 18 or whatever we are now? Good for Penn State football. I know it's good for money. There's money everywhere.
Yep.
But what do you think of the no rivalries? And unfortunately for me, I feel like it's just teams on a schedule now. It's not. I want to play Michigan every year. I want to play Ohio State every year.
So do I. Yeah, we've been in the Big Ten for 31 years now. We've played Ohio State every year until I believe next year we're not playing them. That'll be the first time we've played Ohio State every year. They've never gone off of our schedule, but I don't know who made up the unrivaled logo for Penn State about 5 or 6 years ago, but it's all coming true, man. I mean, it's really I don't know how to say. It's like they have always tried to create a rival for us. You know what I mean? They always had to remember the Michigan State thing. They were going to play right after the Michigan and the Michigan-Ohio State game, and that was going to be the Land-Grant Trophy. That was going to be the next big rivalry in the Big Ten, and they tried to force it on us, but it never really happened. I liked Ohio. I liked Sparty. Sparty liked us. We were very similar. We both hated Ohio State. We both hated Michigan, so that one fell through. Billy, the only one that I think the rivalry that we have picked up recently in the last 10 or 15 years has been Iowa. I mean, we have played some absolute unbelievable, just crazy, tough, maniacal games with them. Them beating us out there when we were number one, us beating them on the last second play. The last few years have been great. We've been shutting them out this year. And then you add in the wrestling aspect of it, and that is a true rivalry, which I think has begun in the Big Ten with us, more so than any other Ohio State, other than Ohio State and Michigan. They have, for some reason, Iowa has 3 reserved games a year. We have 0. I mean, I just don't understand the whole thing of it, the thinking of it. But bringing in the West Coast teams, I'm really cool with it because it's a pretty cool away trip. Don't get me wrong. Did you guys watch that Washington-Oregon game?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Did you see that field on the water and the sound? That's beautiful.
It is.
I cannot wait to go to Seattle.
Mm-hmm. There's some beautiful stadiums out there. We have a bucket list, and I think I just added another one to my bucket list. I really did, just for the atmosphere and the beauty of the stadium, of course.
Yep, I'm with you, man. Finally, Finally, it took 12 minutes, and now we're best friends.
I know. I knew. This tells everybody LaSalle and Prep guys can't get along. Bill. Bill. I'm glad you brought him on because I feel that I made a friend tonight.
There you go. Hey, Goon, Kid Camden, who is actually a friend of mine, and that's his screen name. Tell Goon I was doing stats last Friday, and we played a team coached by Jeff Hardings.
Oh,
he's out there in Ohio.
He's in Columbus. He teaches he coaches at some Christian school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for him. Jeff is. I had Jeff on my. I have a television show that I call the Penn State the Blue White Player Show, Monday nights, and I have one Letterman on a week, and he's so good. I mean, as a football player, obviously I played with him and I lived with him for 5 years. But he was such a good interview that we actually he got 2 weeks. He got 2 5-minute segments. He's that good. So I said, if you're a 2-time All-American and 3-time All-Big Ten, you're allowed to get 2 segments. So no, but Jeff is he was the best football player I played with on the offensive line. Just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Absolutely amazing. We used to talk about, remember how you used to watch Larry Allen play, and he would hit guys and guys would just be falling all over. Well, that's what Jeff was. That's the way Jeff played football in college. He was just such an unbelievable player, but such an unbelievable human being at that. So Jeff leaves Penn State, goes to become a first-round pick of the Detroit Lions, gets married, has 2 children, ends up adopting 4 or 5 more, And I believe he had 2 more on top of that. So he has always been about children and raising good kids and stuff like that. So not surprising he's coaching younger in the high school level, because that was his he really wanted to be involved with that. I know he and I had talked this past summer. I asked him, how are kids nowadays? Because I just hear so many guys that I know, my brother included, is just like the kids are different. You can't coach them. You can't yell at them. You can't do this and this and that. And Jeff was going down that same route, but he's a tougher guy, and he's trying to persevere through all that.
Gotcha. Keith, we do have a question for you from one of our hosts. He does a Commander show, Commander's Gridiron every Tuesday night. Question for Keith. As a Penn State fan here, what is it like to go and play in a hostile environment like the Horseshoe or the Big House from a player's perspective as you are?
Yeah, nothing better in the world than going out there and, going into the Big House and shutting 110,000 people up. That's a fantastic feeling. Don't get me wrong. The Horseshoe, my one experience playing out there was Big Daddy was playing there in '93, and Big Daddy ate all of us for lunch, so it was not a good experience. Then my next experience was there as a coach, and that's when Joe had a little issue, had to run across the field, so it's not been a great environment for me out there at the Horseshoe. One time I went there as a fan, I couldn't believe how bad it was. I told you guys about that before, but going out there to an environment, I mean, just not really the stadium. It's just like going out to any huge game like that, where that there's millions upon millions of people watching. Playing in the Rose Bowl in '95, it's like there's a ton of people out there watching. It's nervous, but you're so into the game, and you're so well coached, and you're so well taught. It's a great feeling, because you'd think you can't hear anything on the field, but you hear everything. And it's really crazy.
Wow.
When you're that zoned in.
Wow.
Hey, Paul, I have to tell our viewers that if they Google up Kajana Carter, Rose Bowl, Oregon, the first play of the game, look for number 53 playing right tackle with a spring block.
Yeah.
Keith, I do have a question for you. Can you talk about the 40-yard pitch? There was a comment that you said something. Not one of us blocked the.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. I thought that's where Billy was going with this thing, but yeah, we called 40 pitch was just a toss to Kijana. And if I'm covered, I'm blocking the man on me. If I'm not, I'm going to block the 3 technique down, and then Jeff would pull for the outside linebacker. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we walked out to the line of scrimmage, and it's crazy because you do have nerves. I mean, there are, like I just said, there's nothing better than now going out to the field, but there are nerves, and you go out there for the first play of the Rose Bowl. And, we're 80 yards away. We have a 40 pitch called. It's just a straight pitch play out of the eye. So I walk out to the line of scrimmage, and I'm covered. So I called, if the guy on me is too wide, I'll call Kyle Brady down to block that guy, and I'll kick the end out. And then, the fullback runs through, hits the linebacker. So about a tenth of a second before the snap, they just start moving around. And I had already called Kyle down. So I pull, and I should have blocked down because the guy I was on moved out to Kyle and whatever. Jeff Hardings is such a great athlete and a great player. He sees that I'm pulling, and he just decides to block the 3 technique. He can. It's just unbelievable. No one else in America could have done that. So I pull around, and I hit a linebacker who I should have been blocking, but Kijana pops off with a safety, and he goes 80 yards for a touchdown, and we go to the sidelines, and our O-line coach is like, "Oh, who'd you block?" I said, "I pulled." He goes, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I pulled. I called a Sam Sally," and Jeff was like, "Yeah, I blocked the 3 technique." So then our O-line coach asked the center and the backside guard and tackle who they blocked, and he goes, "Oh, we missed everybody." So he said, "So we didn't block one person or the right person in the whole play." And I said, "Absolutely not. There's no way." And he goes, "Yeah, we're pretty good. I guess we're pretty good."
Exactly. I mean, that team, Bill, that team 94 there, Keith, it was insane. I mean, you had 2 of the top 5 Heisman Trophy candidates. Kajana Carter and Kerry Collins at 2 and 4. What was it like playing with that team? I mean, I'm an old school fan as well, and watching Penn State, being in Philadelphia since '90, it was just something to watch. And that team, I was admired by that team. I really was.
Goon, can I jump in because I know you're not going to say this? But I'll say it for you: the greatest offense in the history of college football.
I'll take it. There's a couple that there's been a Miami team, and then that Joe Burrow's offense in the last few years. They can compete with us, but I'll take it. If we're in that same conversation, I'm okay with that. But the thing with Kijana and Kerry, like I said earlier in the show, it's defenses how to pick. How do you want to get beat today? Do you want to get beat by the pass or the run? And that was it, because you weren't going to sack Kerry. If you sat 8 men in the coverage, Kijana we would just run the ball all over you. And if you want to drop, a bunch in the coverage, or you want to stop Kijana, Kerry would just devour you. So, what I always say, we had those guys, and we had the number one offense and 5 All-Americans on the offense, and Kerry Collins got sacked 3 times his senior year. Wow. Think about that. I mean, Ron Jaworski just rolled over like, oh, whoa, he just got shocked right there thinking about it. So we played 12 games, and he got sacked 3 times. The last sack we gave up was Michigan, because I gave it up in that 94 game. So that was game 6. So we won 6 more games at the end of the season. We did not give up a sack. So, and it wasn't like we were just running the ball like Tommy Frazier in Nebraska. No, we were throwing the ball a whole bunch. But that's what I'm the most proud of with our offense that year.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, too, what people kind of forget, Goon, is that a lot goes to Kijana and Curry, but you had 5 running backs that all played in the NFL.
Yep.
And 2 fullbacks and three tailbacks all played in the NFL. And you had 3 wide receivers, if you count Juravicius, that all played in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And then Kyle also. So, I mean, it was just an offense that was just loaded with talent.
You want to hear something crazy? I went through our team. So the day I got to Penn State in 1991, 31 of the guys on that team went into the NFL.
Wow.
Just from the offense.
Just from the offense. Wow.
Just from the offense. I mean, we had Richie Anderson, Brian O'Neill, Brian Moser, J.T. Morris, my 5 running backs in my class. I mean, that's 9 running backs right there who go to the NFL. Sam Gash was on the team. Brian O'Neill. You were talking about some thumpers. O.J. McDuffie, Terry Smith.
Curtis Ennis too, correct?
Curtis Ennis was not till my senior year.
Okay.
So this is just the class of 91. When I walked on the team in 1991, when I got to the team in 1991, there was 31 guys from our offense that went to the NFL.
Bobby was there, right?
Bobby Ingram, yep. OJ, Kijana, OJ, Terry Smith, Bobby Ingram, obviously, was on the 91 team. We had 3 tight ends, Troy Drayton, Ryan Grube, and then Kyle Brady going in. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 5 classes of people. So you had 6 guys just on the offense from each class. I mean, average going into the NFL.
Talk about iron sharpens irons in a practice facility, right? You do good. You better, up your game to get some playing time on that team.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt, because Al Golden, your boy out at Notre Dame, was a senior tight end on that team. He was one of our captains.
Wow.
And we had Mark D'Onofrio and Keith Goganis playing on defense, Lubin Fadi, Tioka Jackson. And they would honestly sit there and say, because the whole 94 offense redshirted in 1991. So those guys were sitting there playing against on Tuesday and Wednesday, and that was our Super Bowl as a walk-on, not walk-on, but as a scout team type of thing. Those guys used to say that the games were easy compared to Tuesday and Wednesday versus us. But that's pretty cool to hear.
Yeah.
D'Onofrio and then Keith Goganis, 2 NFL linebackers, and they were like, dude, you guys, it was the worst. And the one year that in 91, Brian O'Neill, who ended up having a pretty good NFL career, he actually redshirted. So we had 3, Brian Milne, Whitman, and Brian O'Neill, John Whitman, and Brian Milne all playing fullback on that scout team offense. Crazy.
Wow. Pick your poison.
Yeah. We had,
wow.
I mean, I think, I'm trying to think now. I think after the 94 team, I think we had 3 Division I starting quarterbacks. We had John Sacca, who left us and went to Western Kentucky. And then there was another guy named Danny White, no relation to the quarterback at the Dallas.
Right.
But he ended up going to Arizona and being the starting quarterback for Arizona. I mean, there's three starting quarterbacks. I mean, it was just an embarrassment of riches at 90 and 91 recruiting classes.
You know what? I tell you one thing. I'm glad they didn't have a transfer portal back then.
I've often thought about it. I really have, because the old man was rough on us and was very, very he was he was a yeller and a screamer, and there was times that you sat there and said, "Oh my God, I'm never going to play here." And he was the one yelling at that, "You're never going to play here. You're never going to play here." So I often say, like, how many of us would have been like, "No, I'm out of here," because he had the power to say, "No, you're not leaving, because I know you can play here." So I don't know how Joe would react in this world. I really don't.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that was actually going to be my very next question to you. How do you think Joe would be dealing with this whole? Now he always, I think, kind of wanted the NIL thing in some with some law and order to it, not like the Wild Wild West like it is now. But how do you think this whole thing would be taken by him?
The thing about Joe is, and he doesn't get enough credit for it, and that is that if we could get money legally, he would get it for us. I mean, he definitely was always looking out for us to try to make as much money as we possibly could legally. There was never any of that illegal crap going on. That supposedly doesn't happen at other places. It is what it is. But he was always the first on board when there was money to be had. He would get it for us, and there's no doubt that he'd be on board with the NIL stuff, but he would want it controlled and like you just said, Wild Wild West, because that's all it is right now. And it's just crazy the numbers that are being explained. And like I said, I do a blue-white players show, so I have 2 players on a week. And one of my questions is, because actually one of my sponsors is the Happy Valley United, and we hear about Deion Sanders' son getting this and that, and Casey, Williams was it, or Caleb Williams out there at USC making all this money and this and that. But I was like, I want to hear it from you guys. The smaller guys, the division, the Penn State guys. What are you doing? I'm not talking about Abdul Carter. I'm talking about the center. What kind of money are they getting, and how has it changed your world, type of thing. And I'm telling you, to a T, it is all about. You know what? Every one of them is like, yeah, it's great money and this and that, but you know what's best? My mom and my dad and my sisters and my grandmom, I can bring them to games now. They can get hotel rooms. They couldn't do that before, and that makes them happy. And I was like, well, that is exactly what it's for. Because let's not kid ourselves. It used to start out name and image likeness. It talked about selling a couple jerseys and a couple autographs and get paid for it, instead of just doing the pay-for-play thing, which is what it's turned into. So hearing the guys say that, I mean, I do whatever I can to help the guys out with getting as much money as they can.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear.
Hey Goon, tell us about your show. It's kind of new, right? This year, you're in State College, and you've always been doing things in the community with your shows and all that. But this football or this TV is new.
Yeah, we used to be on, around the country called the Penn State Obligatory Football Show, the Obligatory Tailgate Show. That has morphed into the Blue White Player Show, the BlueWhitePlayerShow.com. We have 2 players a week. They come on there for about a 15-minute interview. We just talk about, hey, where are you going to be in 15 years? Why'd you come here? Who's your best player you play? Just to get to know the players a little bit better, because I say it all the time. I hated Joe Paterno's press conference, and I hate James Franklin's press conferences. Lou Holtz, all these guys are all the same way. It's coach speak, and I just hate it, because it's like you get nothing. You hear the same thing Saturday, you hear the same thing Wednesday, and then they have a TV or their radio show on Thursday night, and they're answering the same questions with the same dull answers. So I wanted to do something where we could get to know our players a little bit better, without helmets on, sitting around having a good time. If you watch this past week's show, it was this past Monday. I had 2 offensive linemen on there. So, what do you think we're talking about?
Trenches.
We're talking about, in the trenches, but we're also talking about out of the trenches eating. That's the best part. And we just sit there, and they tell me, because they have this thing up here now called the Victory Dinner on Monday nights. So I said, okay, the one kid, Drew Shelton, he's from Downingtown East or West. I forget which one. Real good player, going to be a great player here. So I said, let me hear the menu tonight. He reads me the menu. let's just say I'm a little upset about not getting any kind of NIL money, but I'm probably more upset we didn't have this kind of dining hall. And these guys talk about, it's a Northeast clam bake. And I said, what? And they said, lobster rolls, New England clam bakes, New England clam chowder, clams. And I was like, and he goes, I'm not going to go. And I wanted to smack him. Come on, man, dude. Right? Yeah, he's like, it's not really my thing. But it is different. These kids, they understand nutrition so much more nowadays than we used to. It's really, really, it's good and bad. Obviously, very good for health. But like back in the day, we would just, we got to gain weight, so we would just start pounding pasta and peanut butter. But these kids are doing it right now, and how they gain and lose weight, and a big old difference than it was 20 or 30 years ago.
Very true. Very true. Kid Canvas says Downingtown West played with Will Howard.
Yeah, Drew Shelton played with Will Howard at Downingtown West.
I do have a
quarterback.
Keith, I do have a question.
I'm sorry.
Keith, I do have a couple questions here for you on our Out of Box Sports page here. I asked a lot of people, what are your questions for the Goon here? One of the questions that I would like to know is, where did the name Goon come from? I heard you were a jokester, pretty much.
I was the town jokester. There's no doubt about that. I was the town, the team clown or whatever. But we had a bunch of different personalities, so we kept them in line. Everybody kept in line, and so the Goon actually comes from some of my strength coaches. Well, we were all infatuated with the movie Slapshot. It's one of the greatest movies ever made, and it's just hilarious. We just sit there and talk about the Hanson brothers and the people yelling at them. They're calling them goons and stuff like that. So a couple of my strength coaches were friends of ours. So, they would be training us during the week, but these guys are 22-year-old, 23-year-old guys. So they'd come to the football parties and stuff. So we'd be hanging out. I'm actually still close to two of them, very, very close. But I wasn't a weight room strong guy. I was what you call like a country strong guy. I didn't have the weight room numbers, but when it came down to it, if there was a fight, I could handle my own. So these guys were convinced that when I got drinking, that I would have the strength of 10 or 20 men. And then they would just test me a little bit. They'd get me a little hammered, and then they start poking me. We'd start wrestling. I'd start throwing them around. And they'd be like, why can't you do this in the weight room? You're like a freaking goon, So it just all goes back to the Slapshot thing. And those guys talking about, my Friday and Saturday night strength. How's that?
Gotcha. Okay, great. It's funny that you mentioned that movie Slapshot. I live in Johnstown, right 5 minutes from the stadium, the War Memorial Stadium, where the movie was filmed. Yep. And actually, have you ever met one of the Hansons? Have you ever met them?
No.
I have.
You know what? I will work on that for you, because he actually lives 5 minutes from my house in South.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, what's the little known fact about Johnstown, PA? About in that era? So within 5 years, they had two absolutely killer movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they filmed Slapshot there, and then they filmed All the Right Moves.
Mm-hmm. With Tom Cruise, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. One of the best movies ever made, man.
Yep.
Couple good Penn State football guys came out of Johnstown, too.
Oh, that's absolutely right.
Wow, I didn't even know that one.
Jack Ham.
Okay.
And
Jack Ham's at Johnstown, and all the Bradley brothers.
Mm-hmm. Tom Bradley.
Wow.
Yep.
Then you get into Mike Reed and Altoona.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Bubby.
Legends.
Yeah, we just played Aliquippa a couple of weeks ago. They tore our heads off last week in the Pop Warner Elite team. They blew us out, knocked us out last year, and beat us again this year. Mm-hmm.
They have the ability to do that, don't they?
They do. Last question I have for you, one of our viewers, Adam Popo, asked me to ask you, how do you feel about James Franklin?
Well, I mean, people always say, well, what do you think about him? What do you think about this and this and that? But he's not Joe Paterno. He's never acted or never going to be Joe Paterno, but he has put his fingerprints all over this program. And I feel, on the outside looking in, people can say that he's conceited, has a little cocky attitude, a brash attitude, and this and that. So did Joe. So did Bill O'Brien. So did Lou Holtz. They have that attitude. It's a good thing. The thing about James is that this year he's so different. I really do. Bill, you watch a lot of the stuff as I do, the press conferences and stuff. He doesn't seem as ornery and like standoffish, and I just think he's really just sitting back and enjoying this team right now. I really do. I think that he's he's put all the parts, put all the people in the right part in the positions to go out and do well. And it's going to pay off this year because I have a great feeling about how the year is going to go. But I mean, James is going to be James, and he is very good at what he does. And then, like I say, I keep on going back to doing this player show, and every one of these kids love him. I mean, absolutely love him. And you think there'd be a lot of guys who would like, because a lot of guys transfer in and out, but they're transferring in and out everywhere else too. But these kids love him, and they're balling for him, and they're playing very, very hard for him. He had a team about 3 or 4 years ago that I could not stand. And I talked to some guys from that team that are younger, and that's like, why do you think we're so good right now? And I'm like, dude, we were the same way in 2000. In 94, we had a 92 team that pretty much just a little bit quit on us because we were in the Big Ten, but not in the Big Ten. Billy, you remember that when we signed up for a bowl in May? There was more talent on that 92 team than there was in 94. So we learned how not to do it in that era. So these kids that are playing right now, they had a bad few seniors a few years ago, but they've worked them out of the way, and these kids are very well led amongst themselves. But James lets them be themselves, and I think this is the year, boys.
Yeah, one thing I think too has got to be a good thing for James is he's got his coordinators back for the first time in a long time. That there hasn't always been shifts going on in the coaching staff. He's got some continuity this time, and I think that's huge. Yeah,
I mean, you have a former head coach in Manny Diaz out there. He was the University of Miami head coach, for God's sake. So if James has a question or something like that, who better to run it off of a guy who's been in Division I, high Division I like Manny, and say, hey, what would you do here, type of thing, So I know he has a bunch of guys here helping out, and having Manny and Ursich here for a couple of years now. There's stability in the program, in my opinion. And I don't know how long Manny's going to be here, but I'd love for him to stay as long as he can. But I think that some big schools are going to come knocking this year.
Gotcha.
Hey,
go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Goon, before we run out of time here, I want you to tell us about your show. Tell us how people can watch it, listen to it, and everything you got going on there. Yeah,
I got a little radio show Tuesday, Thursday, 3 to 5 on 98.7 The Fox up here in State College. You can go on and call the Goon and Ironhead Show. If you go on Facebook, Goon and Ironhead, you can listen to it live, Facebook streamed all the time, and at any time you can watch it. But then Monday night is my BlueWhitePlayerShow.com, BlueWhitePlayerShow.com, and that's the one that there's two guys on every week. I got a guy helped me out, Aeneas Hawkins. He just graduated 2 years ago, and just remember the name. Dude, the kid is an up-and-comer in the media world. He's really, really, really good. His father played in the NFL. He's from Cincinnati Moeller High. Very well-spoken. He does about 4 or 5 podcasts right now, so he's way ahead of the game when it comes to, like, his media world. So anybody wants to listen to me, great. BlueWhitePlayerShow.com.
Definitely. Well, we'll link that to our page there. Keith, I appreciate you coming on. We lost Bill for a second because he was freezing a little bit on his appearance there. But you want to let you go, or would you like to talk about? Because Bill and I usually go into the top 10. If you want to stay for us, are you cool with that, Keith?
Yeah. How much longer are you talking about here?
About 15 minutes tops.
I'll throw a few in there. Yeah, let's go.
Sounds good. Here's our top 10 here. Let me know where you agree here. I mean, Washington moved up highly after beating Oregon here. Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. That's going to flip-flop to Penn State, Ohio State virtually here. But
I don't have a problem with them doing that, with them jumping Penn State this week, because like Oklahoma jumped them last week, because we still got Ohio State and Michigan on the program, so in the schedule. So I'm not worried about that. It'll all take care of itself in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you still got a gauntlet. The 3 teams there are going to have triangle effect. They're going to play each other. So the BCS is going to have a lot to look at there too. Is there any team that play-wise for the schedule, the team that looks at my direction here is Florida State. They jumped, Texas first week here, Keith. They jumped all the way up from 11-4, beating Texas in week 1. You don't lose, you don't get knocked out. But is Florida State something that you see that could possibly make the BCS here?
Sure. I mean, who is Notre Dame playing them or no?
No, Notre Dame's not playing this year. They
already played Clemson. I believe the only game that Miami or that Florida State really has is that Miami game, right?
I believe so. I think they have Duke or North Carolina left too. One of those two teams.
Yeah, Carolina's the one that's very, very, very quietly going undefeated right now.
Yes, they're in the ranked 10th right now. Yep. Mm-hmm.
After what Cristobal did 2 weeks ago, I thought Miami would give them a better game than they did last week, but they did. It was a tough game all the way through, but Carolina came out in the end and just blew their doors off. So I'm interested to see where they're going to be versus the Florida State, and then then the Florida State has to play the ACC title, but there's not really much there.
Gotcha.
They should have taken a loss against Clemson, but you got to give Florida State credit. They won that game.
Gotcha. And the question I have for you here too is, Bill Sprague here. As we talked, the BCS here coming up, and the real rankings in about 4 weeks here, Keith. The down to right rankings here when everything gets settled. Let's just say if Ohio State loses this game or Penn State loses the game by 3, can a 1-loss team make it to the BCS championship out of the Big Ten here?
I mean, there's definitely scenarios right now where actually you could have 2 Big Ten 1-loss teams going out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan do the whole triangle of losses and they're all close games, I mean, if you guys can figure out who the hell goes to the Big Ten title game, if we all have 1 loss, I don't know what the hell the rule is. I heard it was like versus the western part of the conference. I don't know what the hell that even means.
Right. Your guess is as good as mine.
I have no idea. So if we all have 1 loss, who goes? It goes. They have obviously scenarios, but then if Penn State has 1 loss against Michigan, say, and then Michigan goes to the Big Ten title and clubs Iowa. I mean, what's to say Penn State can't go to the Big Ten or not to the NCAA with 1 loss?
Now, does it go down to strength of schedule if it's a 3-way tie there? Because I was looking at. That's great that you mentioned that because I was looking at the schedule here. The strength of schedule would actually go to Ohio State because Notre Dame was highest ranked at that point.
No doubt. The schedule. Penn State is. I mean, that's the thing. It's like they made a big thing about the whole Penn State schedule this year, but it's like, how do you know 9 years ago when you created this schedule that UMass was going to be that bad? Delaware you're playing, but we played Villanova 2 years ago. So I know James likes to spread it around the whole Pennsylvania and Philadelphia area. I get it. But, I mean, West Virginia is actually helping us a little bit. That loss last week really hurt Penn State's strength of schedule on that fluke final play of the game. So Ohio State and Michigan both have better strength of schedules right now. And I don't know how the hell Michigan has a better strength of schedule than us. But, again, it goes down to, 1-game losses and stuff like that. Who really goes? I don't know who goes to the Big Ten title, but I could actually see a 2-1-team Big Ten teams getting in.
The Big Ten has become the SEC basically in their rights this year. Top teams all around that 1-loss team, as the SEC always has. They find a way to get in. Well, now it's the Big Ten. They've overturned that. Did a 180 in conference first ranks.
And then if you watch the voters, it's all on how they vote because it's like Alabama loses the game and they don't really drop that far, and Georgia loses a game, they don't drop that far. So the SEC takes care of itself, and I think the Big Ten has finally realized that. Like, okay, well, if we start knocking our guys down too far, then they're not going to be able to get 2 teams in, and that's ideally to get 2 teams in would be the thing. Well, hell, there's a scenario of 3 teams in the Big Ten getting in. Well, you guys tell me what scenario are they going to use this year? Are they going to use the conference title game? Sometimes they say they don't matter, and then some years they say they matter. I don't know what the scenario is this year.
What do you think about that, Bill?
I think it's whatever scenario they could get Ohio State in is the way they like to try to do it.
Ooh, that's a good answer, Billy. Good answer, but you're right.
I hate to say it, but it always kind of seems to go that way.
I agree. Being a Notre Dame fan, as I tell Bill all the time, it's name recognition a lot. In Ohio State, that name recognition goes a long way in certain proceedings. And the BCS, would you like to see Ohio State? Sure, we want Ohio State in there. Find a way to get them in.
And Ohio State's been good. I mean, no doubt about it.
They're well deserving of everything they've ever got.
But not always the top 4 team. They could have been a 5th or 6th team and they got in.
Yeah, I mean, look at 2016. We go and beat them, and then we win the Big Ten. Yeah, we win the Big Ten title in the Big Ten title game, but they go to the playoff, and we didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Explain that one. I don't know.
Agree.
That's when it didn't matter. They said, but then last year or the year before, it does matter. So it's crazy.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, Bill, we were talking about the top 10 here. Our last thing real quick is Keith, we always do games of the week here. Of course, it's Penn State, Ohio State. We'll go real quick through here. That's the game of the week starting at 12 o'clock. How about we do a prediction for these 7 games here real quick?
Go ahead.
Keith, I'll let you go first since, I think this is going to be one in the trenches here. I really do. So what better way to start it off with the good in the trenches here? What's the score?
Penn State 24-14.
Wow. Okay. Bill?
Penn State 21-17.
Woo, doggy.
Wow. You know what? Listen to you guys. I have to go Penn State. I wanted to go Ohio State for numerous reasons, but I think this is Penn State's game this week. I think they finally have the quarterback to succeed. The defense is elite to me. 21-17 Penn State.
I like it.
We'll make it unanimous. Next game real quick is number 16 Duke versus Florida State. We just talked about Florida State. Keith, this is one of the games. They do play Duke this week, undefeated as well. How do you feel? I mean, this is, Florida State, if they lose, they're gone, but they're playing an undefeated team in Duke here.
Yeah, I think that Florida State's is the team to beat in that conference, so they're going to run away with it.
I agree with that. Bill?
I'm going to say that Florida State always manages to stumble, and this might be the one. Just saying, Duke's not a bad football team. We saw that in that Notre Dame game. They're not a bad football team.
Is Riley Leonard still out? Because I know he was nursing an injury still.
I think he's good to go.
Is he? Okay, good, because that means a lot to me too. If he's, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you here. I think this is the week. If Riley Leonard is healthy 100%, I think Florida State stumbles here because they've shown glimpses of good and bad. This could be the week right here. So I'm going to go Duke here. A close game, but I'm going to go Duke.
All
right. Next one here. Cam Rising, we don't know where he's MIA on a milk carton. We have no idea if he's playing the rest of the year here. USC coming off Caleb Williams' worst game, handed by my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, of course. 14 versus 18. Utah here against USC. We know they can score sometimes, but they give up points too. What do we see here?
They give up a ton of points, and Utah can score them. So I think Utah's still involved, and I love Utah's coach. I think they're tough as hell. I'm going to say that USC is going to mail it in. I really have that feeling that's going to happen.
Wow.
Well, I think the other thing that goes with that, not only did they lose to Notre Dame this week, they snuck by the week before. They've got back-to-back not good games, not back-to-back bad Caleb Williams games as well. I wish Utah's quarterback situation was better, but Utah beat them twice last year. They're not afraid of them. I'm going to go Utah.
I'm going to make it unanimous. I think it's going to go Utah here. I love their defense. They're elite on defense. They're fast, good up front. Their front seven gets at you. They're nasty. And USC's been squeaking out wins. Colorado, losing to Stanford, giving up 36-7 in the second half here. This game tells me what Caleb Williams is. We talked about that, Bill, the sideline effect here. What is Caleb's going to be here? I'm going to go Utah here. Three straight wins here for Utah. I'm going with Utah. Bill, we talked about this team last week. What is UCLA versus a Stanford coming off a huge win too?
UCLA.
I agree.
Yeah.
Keith?
Yep.
UCLA. Okay.
Go the Bruins. I don't think Stanford can do it. I don't know if they won that game or I don't know. I think the guys were too busy selling memorabilia in the locker room, so Colorado didn't play that second half.
They were probably looking at Schroeder's wristwatch, that $100,000.
I can't believe that they came out there. I don't know if he did it or not. Was that? I know that the timing of his tweet for selling gear, it was at halftime of that game, and I if that was him doing that and not somebody who's running his company, you got something wrong out there, man.
Yeah, you got a problem. Absolutely.
I mean, the media back, for the NFL and college, if you eat a hot dog on a sideline, you get bashed for that. And this guy's selling equipment at halftime here.
It's crazy.
What has football come to now? It's prime time, I guess, for all the Sanders people at Colorado. So they have separate rules, Keith. I don't know. I have no idea.
If Deion does half the stuff that he's saying for those kids, I'm 1,000,000% behind him. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
I agree 100%.
We all hope it does because what he's saying is some awesome stuff.
Very true. Very true. He's saying the right things. What you practice, what you preach, stuff.
Correct. Yep.
Let's get into this game here. We talked about Miami. Clemson is not what they are anymore. Miami's, downright out of it right now, too. What do you think about this game? I just put it on the schedule because it is one of those games that you kind of circle being a fan.
Yeah, well, the problem with Miami is like they get a couple losses and it just seems to steamroll them, and they usually just quit. So that not kneeling on the football knocked them into a complete funk, and then they go down into they could have avenged it and beaten North Carolina last week, but North Carolina took their heart. So I just see Clemson, who really needs it, and Dabo is such a good damn coach that it's a game that he's going to win because he's a superior coach.
Gotcha. Bill?
I'm going Clemson too. I think Miami's in a tailspin, just like Goon said.
I agree. I mean, going through the last couple of weeks here, dismantling the team, mentally too, number one after that play we talked about. So I'm going to go Clemson here. I love the running back, Will Shipley. I think he has a great game here. I think they're just going to give him the ball constantly. Ole Miss versus Auburn here. Ole Miss 13. They find ways to win. Jackson Dart's playing really good. Lane Kiffin puts them in position to score. They give up points, but that Auburn team, they get at you sometimes. What do we see here?
Where's the game at?
Auburn.
War Eagle, baby. War Eagle.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, I'll call it.
Uh-oh. Okay. Bill?
Lane has a mess up every year, so.
True.
I'm going Ole Miss on this.
All right, we finally got a disagreement in the game 6 now. All right.
Exactly. Well, I hate to do this, Keith, but I'm going to go to Bill's side here. I'm going to go Ole Miss. I think
all good, man. All good.
That offense can put up points in. I think Lane Kiffin's very innovative. I think he's going to spread the field if it has to be and throw the ball around. Auburn's defense is good. It's War Eagle here, home game, but I got to go Ole Miss here. I think that spread offense just gives him a little too much because we've seen Jackson Dart, especially in the LSU game where I thought he was dead to rights, come back in that game and show you something in the fourth quarter. So I'm going to go Ole Miss here.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Now, last game of the night, we're staying in the SEC here. 17 Tennessee goes to 11th ranked Bama. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen Bama out of the top 10.
Yeah, and but they have a big old revenge factor going against the Tennessee from last year.
Yes, they do.
They really, truly do. So, and I don't think Alabama liked Tennessee running around on the field last year the way they did and how they acted. So I'm going to say it's a vendetta game. So I'm going to go with my roll. I'm going to go Roll Tide.
Wow, Bill.
Yeah, I think Alabama's going to win. I don't think Alabama is that good. I don't think Tennessee is that good either. So I'm going to go Alabama at home for a lot of the other reasons, like some that Goon mentioned as well.
I'm going to go Alabama here too. The revenge factor plays a lot in my head too as well. But, last year we talked about quarterbacks. Joe Milton, coming from Michigan, going to Tennessee State, replacing Hooker. I thought he was going to be solid. They're good for Tennessee, but Alabama does not have – Joe Milton is not the QB here. He is not the QB at all. So I don't know their identity on offense. I don't know Tennessee's offense, what their identity is. But I'm going to go in the trenches here. I think Alabama's defense can maintain Tennessee here. So I'm going to go Alabama probably in a close game.
Nice.
Yep. Well, Bill, before we get out of here, Keith, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. This helps everybody out there. The LaSalle and Prep guys can get along for 30 minutes here. So
yeah, buddy, all good. I appreciate you guys having me, man.
Yep.
Hey, go Phils, Goon.
Absolutely, man. I'm going to be out in Columbus on Friday night. I got Friday and Saturday night out there. We're going to see what we can do.
There we go. Keith, I appreciate you hopping on. Don't be a stranger. Anytime you want to come aboard, let us know. We'd love to talk to you. Whenever you have a chance, hop on board. Love speaking college football. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Fantastic, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, buddy.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, Keith. Thank you. Wow, Bill. Wow.
He's a good dude.
Talk about a trip down memory lane. Being an Irish fan, but still enjoying the talk of college football. That 90s squad, with Goon there, it was something to watch, Bill. Just like you said, the greatest show on offense,
Yeah. Yep. He's a good dude.
He is. Yeah. Bill, I lost you for a little bit. We were talking about the top 10 there real quick.
Yeah, I went away again. I froze.
I'll go back to that real quick between you and I here. We talked. You called it exactly right. We said, Penn State will probably drop if one of these teams wins, especially Washington or whatever way it came out. They did. But is there any team that you think is a little bit doesn't belong or a little bit overrated this week?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm actually pretty good with it. I think they've got to, we're going to find out about Ohio State and Penn State. We're going to find out about Florida State.
True.
I think one thing that could happen, see how this plays out. If Penn State were to beat Ohio State, I could see them going to 3 and maybe even 2.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes. It'll be that signature win that we've been talking about.
Very
If
true.
Penn State loses, they drop out of the top 10 probably, or at least down to 10. Everybody slides up.
Yeah, I think the one team that's going to be out this week, as we both said, I think Florida State loses this week. I think this is the blemish this week. We know they haven't put together games, Bill, a 4-quarter game here, 60-minute game, of course. I think this is the week they do drop. I really, looking forward to this ranking next week with Ohio State and Penn State, how they're going to flip-flop, who to lose or how far they drop. Were you kind of shocked that Oregon stayed in the top 10 here at 9? I thought they were going to probably go to like 10 to 11.
Yeah, I mean, they could have dropped another couple spots, but it was such a good game, such a close game. Could have gone, one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
I agree. And as we always say, Bill, here is like the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are dominating this, top 15 here. It's all going to play itself out. The Big Ten has that triangle: Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. It's a triangle effect there. The Big 12, Oklahoma has the easiest schedule going through as long as they can beat Texas, maybe in the Big 12 championship. They hold their own destiny. The Pac-12, Oregon, Washington, and then look at 12, and 14 there, Oregon State and Utah. They're going to be fighting back and forth, but they haven't played each other yet, Bill, either. So,
right.
I'm hoping that number 15 team maybe can make a jump here, but there's no way possible way with 2 losses.
A lot of things got to happen.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things got to happen as we enter, week 7?
Yeah, especially, Louisville losing last week to Pitt. That didn't help us out at all. So that strength of schedule, doesn't help us out there too. But plus having no conference championship, Bill, that hurts us too as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep. So Florida State has Duke, Wait, Pitt, cupcake schedule. Hopefully Duke can knock them off. I think they do. I really think they do here. That's now because they don't play Notre Dame this year, which is kind of weird. I thought, Notre Dame plays that ACC schedule. And that goes to show you what you said, Bill, with Penn State's schedule. Play the better teams. Play the better teams. You want to win, play the better teams. Get the schedule out there. Play. I hate these cupcake schedule, Bill.
They do have Florida to play too, but
they do.
That's rivalry games, so something, anything could happen.
Right.
But
yeah,
Florida does not appear to be as good as Florida State at this point.
No. But Bill, before we get out here, I want to say congratulations to your Philadelphia Phillies who play tomorrow night going up.
Got to keep winning.
Bill, I tell you, it's, I can't believe these homers that they're hitting. Every Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper. My goodness, Bill. My goodness.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Getting great pitching so far from Wheeler and Nola in the first 2. So we'll definitely take that. And
I like your post, Bill. Every pitch that Nola pitches, he's getting that bank account pretty damn good, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He really is. He really is. Yep. So what do you think tomorrow night's game, Bill? If the Phillies win this, do they sweep? What do they do?
I think they win tomorrow.
Okay.
They're facing a rookie pitcher with an ERA over 5. And I think the Arizona people kind of bailed. It looks like tickets are below $25, some as low as $10 for tickets for this game.
100%, Bill.
I think they bailed, and this thing could end up being a sweep.
Yeah, a friend of mine lives in Arizona. He lives in Tucson. There, he has season tickets, and he was like, "Paul, come out here. I'll buy you a drink that might be more than your ticket cost."
Right?
Crazy. Insane, Bill. But Bill, you know what? Hey, we'll be back next week. Thank you for getting Bill Keith Conlon on here. Great enjoyment listening to him. Just takes you down memory lane, of course. So, Bill, we'll be back next week again, correct?
Let's do it.
All right. My name is Paul Spencer, and that is the OG right there, Bill Furman. And guys, we will see you next Wednesday night, recapping some great games. Game of the week, Penn State, Ohio State. And Bill, I'll say it, go Ohio State. No, I'm just joking. Penn State, of course. You got it.
All right, my man.
All right, Bill. I'll see you next week. Everyone, all the viewers, have a great weekend and enjoy your college games this week.